All right, y'all. So I'm doing my little digital journal where I kind of walk and talk and whatnot. And one thing I kind of wanted to cover a little bit was um, and I'm not sure if you guys ever had this situation or whatnot, but it's getting a little warmer out today. I'm not sure if you guys had this situation or not, but um, you ever had a situation where you feel like folks is monitoring your damn PTO, monitoring your the time that you're taking off at work? Now, what's interesting is I'm a contractor. Usually you have these kind of things that's occurring around permanent hiring. You don't usually have situations. You typically don't have situations like that um, when you're a contractor. Most people really ain't tripping about what days you have off or whatever like that. So I'm like, all right. Another reason what made me start kind of thinking like, okay, I'm going to weigh my options open is because when I'm supposed to be taking time off, I'm supposed to be taking time off. I don't have no issue with anybody else having taken no damn time off. I don't care. If you need other resources to get things done, that's what you do. That's the whole point of PTO. This is my time. So I'm trying to, and I always do half days. I don't take whole days. I take half days. So I'm sitting around trying to figure out, why is this dude so I said, what's going on Friday, man? Is there anything going on? Ain't shit going on, man. One project just got canceled. So that's further confirmation that I'm gonna have to, you know what I'm saying, do what I do, man. Keep your options open, man. So if you're contracting, permanent might be a little different because things are different now. But if you contracting right now, keep your options open, man, because folks shouldn't be getting all of that. So yeah, sometimes what you have to do is you have to keep your peace. Me, I'll hold myself off. I'll eat my lunch and my little thing. I need a little tripod because this thing kind of moves around, but I try to be inconspicuous. Make sure my mic is on and everything. Sometimes I'm a little too loud because my microphone on my phone, it doesn't pick up as well. So we'll be upgrading that pretty soon. I want to tell y'all about a conversation that I had with, let's have my lunch. I want to talk about a conversation that I had, and sometimes less is more. You know what I mean by less is more? If you try to overdo and overtalk yourself, you know, really when you're on interviews and things of that nature, you want to kind of sell your personality, so to say. Just be natural, be yourself. You know, you don't have to be something that you're not. Because people could tell. They could tell. I had a conversation with the guy, and he's like, do you know Linux? And first of all, he asked me where I was at. So I told him. He's like, okay. And then he's like, do you know Linux? I said, not really. I've done a little DevOps work before, but mainly copy and paste. He said, are you willing to learn? I said, absolutely. And he said, well, the company actually likes somebody that doesn't know anything that's willing to learn. Because sometimes they get into superheroes. And the superheroes, they get into the situation. And when I heard Linux, I said, okay, this might be another blessing. The best positions that I've had have been, they just come out of somewhere. I didn't look for them. I didn't search for this. And for the time being, I'm like, it could get me back where I needed to be. 2024 was rough. So there's certain things in life where you get to do one step, and sometimes you may have to take one step. You might feel uncomfortable for a minute. Discomfort, don't look at discomfort as it not being a blessing. A lot of us sometimes just always want to be comfortable. That means you're not gonna have no blessing because you're used to it just always working. And to me, life is about managing disappointment. You're gonna get a bunch of no's. Ain't nothing gonna go right. You gotta make it go right. I'm just gonna hold it because this thing ain't home. You gotta make it go right. You have to make it go right. I'll keep that in there. You have to literally make it go the way you have to damn near almost force it. You have to put these things in place to make it go where you want. You have to talk to the right people. You know, a lot of us, we don't like to network. That's going to be part of, you're going to work with people you don't like. Sometimes even work with people that you don't even respect. You might be around somebody and be like, man, this dude here couldn't even come to the playground with us. You're going to deal with a lot of that. Now, how you manage it, how you respond. I'm hypersensitive to every interaction around me. Because when I haven't been, it didn't really go in my favor, or I just didn't know. The idea that, well, it's not going to hurt you because you didn't know. It will, and it can, and it has. Gentleman says, oh, do you know Linux? I'm familiar with it. I could do ifconfig. I told him. I could do ifconfig. I could do, I could do some things. I'm familiar with ETH and, some of the Ethernet and stuff. And so now what that tells me, I need to just go back and just look up a few commands. A lot of it's going to be copy and paste. I told him about Docker, Kubernetes, Runbook, all of that. But when you come off as a superhero because you want to be an Avenger, they'll be like, man, we can't work with Incredible Hulk. Incredible Hulk can't control himself once he gets upset. We might be able to work with Hawkeye. We might be able to work with, we don't even want Captain America. We want somebody a little greener. We want someone that's and I'll tell you about these financial institutions. They do not want somebody coming. I noticed there. And you kind of look at the pay range, you'd be like, man, it's a big company. They should pay more. They're there to save money. They're not there to pay you more. They're to pay you less. They're here to pay you as little as they can to get the job done and still be efficient and proficient. That's what they want. So they don't have much interest in trying to pay you more unless you could save them more. Okay. So I'm like, yeah, that's something I'm willing to learn. And then he's like, okay, you worked with us before. So that gave me my street credibility. They said, okay, it worked well. You're eligible for this again. You see? So I basically said, I'll make myself available whenever you need me. Saying what you can't do and you'll not be able to make this work, what that means is he's not available. It's best to say, even if you ain't available, it's best to say yeah, and then make and move things around if you need be. Because I said, okay, if and see, my position has changed where it's like, okay, you're going to have the micromanagement, you're going to have the lames and the weasels, you're going to have that. Okay. Is this going to get me back in the direction where I was at? I was already in the system business analysis system kind of BA business system analysis kind of route. So I gave a few examples. Okay. Do you know anything about Splunk? Yes, I do. Have you used the term he used was, it wasn't containerization. It was another term. It wasn't data mining. It was another term that was used in regards to Splunk. I wish I forgot what the term is. I'm going to ask him what the term is again, and then I'm going to update you guys. But it was like compository, or it was a specific term, and I want to get you guys the correct term because you could use that word. It's a powerful word. But this specific word, it means the same thing as like looking and combing through logs and stuff like that, but they call it something specific. And I told you about the importance of Splunk. And remember, I wrote the chapter about Postman. So I'm trying to share a little bit of game as I'm learning it. I'm still learning some more information too. Their key issue was a good communicator. That's something that I always wanted to focus on. I could go into the room with anybody and have this conversation. I don't got to go in there and be shucking and jiving and carrying on. And then again, I ain't got to go in there sounding like Captain Planet. You dig? You know, and I ain't got to go in there like Muff Mouth. Muffle Mouth, where somebody put a pillow in my jaws and tie duct tape around. I don't got to do that either. You see, they want a good communicator. And I said, hey, so can you give me an example of that? I stay in the question mode. He said, oh, I like that. You stay in the question mode. Because when you're staying away from a lot of statements, people, when you ask them a question, you're either confirming something or you're trying to gather more information. People like that. Some people don't want to be around a bunch of know-it-alls. They don't. They want you to ask them a question so they feel like, well, I'm enlightening him. That's some game. I'm telling you. Well, he knows everything. Well, what is he asking me for? He don't need to talk to me if he knows everything. And that's how people think. So that was the conversation that I had. And so I just kind of want to share that with y'all and everything. And so even when it comes down to micromanagement, like I say, I'm hypersensitive. I could tell by the way somebody walks past me. Subtle things. They don't have to say anything. They don't even have to look at me. I could tell when they walk past, they know that I'm there. And I could tell how the body language may change when they walk away. That's survival tactics. I start to hone in on that. They call it's energy. And I don't know. I'm not one of these metaphysical dudes. I'm almost at the point that maybe thinking that maybe energy collides. I don't know if it's a spiritual thing or not. I think if somebody walks past you and they have a negative thought about you or something like that, and you're sitting there, and if you could tell the body language, I don't know if energy passes or I don't know. I know it's something, whatever. I don't know what they call that, but I believe that there is energy. It's scientific. There is energy. Now, how it's used and transferred, I don't know. I'm not a psychoanalyst, and I'm not a chemical engineer. I'm not a quantum babbler. I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is I can tell what they call, there's microaggressions. You know those because you can feel them because that's what they exert. Therefore, is that energy? Is that energy? So, like I say, I'm going to keep on doing the reactions, putting my 2 cents in, asking you guys questions. What do you think about this? Whatever it is. And I want to make the channel fun. I want to talk about, like I say, anything IT. If it goes through this phone, if it goes through a live stream, if it's been posted on the internet, that's IT. We're going to talk about it. Not so much just, oh, well, it's the subject. Well, DP, this ain't a tech channel. This is supposed to be about tech. Is the internet tech? We gonna talk about it. Anything that goes through this device right here is IT at this point, as far as I'm concerned. If I could put this through this microphone that I got on right here, and that's why I carry this little box around, because I could record. I could constantly record and constantly do content and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, this is dope. If I would have had one of them old school digital cameras back in the day, and that's, I just want to keep it real, not legendary, not Logic. Give me the damn word. If I want to keep it vinyl, digital tape, or whatever they call it, it's a word for like legacy. If I want to keep it legacy, then I could film that way or get content that way. But that's more like documentary work with people like that old legacy. But this digital stuff, and my homie should have never turned me on to this AI stuff. I'm showing my behind. I'm making all kind of images and all kind of, I'm telling you, I'm doing all kind of stuff. And, like, some of it's cool. Use it as a tool, man. It's just a tool. You use this stuff before it's a wrap, So I'm going to load this up for y'all. This is my digital journal. Not sure what I'm gonna title it, but hopefully y'all could get some nuggets up out of here.